Have you ever wanted to get away from everything and escape to a cozy cabin in the woods? I did, but what was supposed to be a peaceful retreat turned into a nightmare that still haunts me to this day. Last fall, I decided to take a break from the hustle and bustle of city life. I found a charming little cabin online, nestled deep in the woods, far from the nearest town. The pictures showed a quaint, rustic cabin surrounded by trees with a beautiful lake nearby. It seemed perfect. I arrived on a Friday afternoon, the sun casting a golden glow through the trees. The air was crisp, and the only sounds were the rustling leaves and the distant calls of birds. The cabin was even more beautiful in person. It had a warm, inviting feel with its wooden walls, stone fireplace, and large windows overlooking the forest. I unpacked my things, lit a fire, and settled into a comfy chair with a good book. As the sun set, I started to feel a bit uneasy. The woods seemed to close in around me, and the cabin felt a bit too quiet. I shrugged it off, telling myself I was just not used to the solitude. That night I had trouble sleeping. Every creak and groan of the cabin made me jump. I kept telling myself it was just the old wood settling, but it felt like something, or someone was watching me. Around midnight, I heard a faint scratching sound coming from the back door. My heart raced. "Is someone out there?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. I grabbed a flashlight and cautiously approached the door. The scratching stopped as I got closer. I took a deep breath and opened the door, shining the light outside. There was nothing there, just the dark, empty forest. I closed the door and locked it, trying to calm my nerves. The next morning I went outside to look around. I didn't find any tracks or signs of animals. The woods were peaceful, almost serene in the daylight. I decided to take a walk to clear my head. As I walked along the path, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig made me jump. That evening I tried to relax by the fire, but the uneasy feeling from the night before returned. I kept hearing faint noises outside, like footsteps crunching on the gravel path. I told myself it was just animals, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. I went to bed, hoping for a good night's sleep. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of the front door creaking open. My heart pounded in my chest. I was sure I had locked it. I grabbed the flashlight and my phone, creeping downstairs as quietly as I could. The front door was ajar, swaying slightly in the breeze. I shined my flashlight outside, but there was no one there. I closed the door and locked it again, double-checking this time. As I turned to go back upstairs, I heard a soft whisper. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice shaking. There was no reply, just the eerie silence of the cabin. I felt a cold breeze on the back of my neck, like someone was standing right behind me. I spun around, but there was no one there. I barely slept that night, every sound making me jump. The next morning, I decided I couldn't stay there another night. I packed my things and called the cabin owner to tell him I was leaving early. He seemed surprised but didn't ask any questions. As I drove away, I glanced back at the cabin. It looked so peaceful in the morning light, but I knew better. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been watched the entire time I was there. A few days later, I got a call from the cabin owner. He told me that after I left, he found strange markings on the back door, like someone had been trying to scratch their way in. He said I wasn't the first guest to leave early, but he never mentioned why. I don't know what was out there in those woods, but I do know that I'll never go back. The next time you think about staying in a remote cabin, just remember, you might not be as alone as you think.